are just going to talk briefly about, we're going to continue with finding the zeros. This camera's so close to me. You're going to see my nose hair.
Do you want us to scoot back?
Weird thing. What?
Scoot back. Yeah, we can
Sure. Well, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh. You're quick. Yeah, me away from that.
That's great.
It's so weird that she's
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. So we're going to just talk. Basically, the homework, guys, everybody really focus because I don't have much time. The homework is basically the same as last night. However, it's a little harder, okay? And we just have to look at how they could be harder, okay? So really focus. So I'm going to actually do a couple that are on the sheet, okay? So if you write them down in your notes, then you will have solved them, right? So Adam, shh, right? You're singing or talking or something. I don't know what. All right, so we're talking about finding the zeros again, right? Finding zeros. I hope this shows up on the computer, on the screen. It's not very dark. Could somebody open these up and give me the black? That would be really good. I'm going to just getting my marker really fast. What?
Use the pink. It's vibrant.
No, but on the for the video, it doesn't work so well.
Okay, use the orange.
No, the black is. I've tried different colors, and the black works the best. Thank you, my dear. Okay, finding zeros. Okay, so sometimes you're going to see something like this: negative x squared plus 11x minus 24. And then I'm going to actually, that's not the problem. The problem actually is this. Negative x squared plus 11x minus 24 equals 0. Now, the way you would solve these is almost the same thing. The only thing is this doesn't have an equal sign, so I can't actually solve for x. Does that make sense? Right? But how would I factor this? What would I have to do before I factored this? What's the first thing you always try before you actually try doing your question? What?
You find the greatest common.
Yeah.
Finding out you find the greatest common factor. When the x squared has a negative in front of it, you don't want to try to factor it like that. I've had students that, oh yes, it's no problem. They're always wrong, right? But it is a problem. It's really, really complicated to factor this without getting out the negative one. It's possible, yes, but really complicated. And your brain just short circuits behind it. So factor it out. We don't want the negative one there, right? The negative. So we're going to just factor out a negative one. Now I can't just divide everything by negative one and then, right? I have to actually factor it out. Negative 1 parenthesis, and then now all these in here are going to change signs. It would be positive x squared minus 11x plus 24, right? And then I could factor it. Then I could do factors of 24 that add to negative 11. But I'd have to keep that negative 1 as I do it, right? You all understand that, right? Now, but when I come over here, that 0, that equals 0, is a great gift. Because what that means, if I've got a 0 on the other side, I can do anything to this side and have this side stay 0. Right? I mean, I can do any multiplying or any dividing, and this side is still going to stay 0. Right? So instead of factoring out a negative 1 like this, I can just divide both sides by negative 1. Does that make sense? And look, the difference will be this. I'm going to divide this by negative 1, this by negative 1, this by negative 1, this by negative 1. And all I have now is just x squared minus 11x plus 24 equals 0. So I have the same thing, except I don't have to deal with that doggone negative 1 anymore. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it equals 0, it's legal to get rid of it, to divide it out instead of factor it out. This is factoring it out. This is dividing it out, right? And then it's real easy. Then you can solve it, and you guys know how to do that, right? factors of 24 that add to negative 11, negative 8, and negative 3, right? X minus 8, I think that's right. X minus 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, yes, equals 0. And then I have x is either equal to 8 or 3. Right? Now, what if I gave you this one? What if I gave you negative 2x squared plus 24x equals 64? What would I do? Excuse me, what would I do? First thing, you know it has to what?
Equals 0.
Oh,
Has to equal 0. That's our first thing always. Always, always, always. What?
Subtract 64.
Yeah, let's subtract 64. Always make it equal 0. Right? Negative 2x squared plus 24x minus 64 equals 0. Great. Now we're talking. Now what do I have to do? First thing you always think, before you try to factor and use Gary's terrific trick or anything like that, is what? Factor out the greatest common factor, right? That's the first thing you'll always do. What would the greatest common factor be? Okay. What? What'd you say? Did anybody say? What? Okay, sorry. So, okay, what would be the greatest common factor? What goes into all of these numbers? 2, and there's a negative in front of there, right? So let's take out a negative 2. Does that make sense? But now look, because it equals 0, I can do it to everything. Negative 2, I can divide, right? Negative 2. And I divide everything, every term by negative 2, including the 0, right? That means I've divided both sides by negative 2. So negative divided by negative is positive. The 2's cross out, the 1's cross, I mean the minuses cross out. I just have x squared, okay? Plus divided by minus becomes minus. And then 2 goes into 2 ones, 2 goes to 24 12 times, so I have 12x. And then minus divided by minus is plus. 64 divided by 2 is 32 equals 0. Great, now I suddenly turn that into something very manageable. I'm looking for factors of 32 that add to negative 12, right? It's positive 32, so I know,
Negative 6 and negative 6.
yeah, it's got to be negative 6 and negative 6, exactly, right? This one tells me that both signs have to be the same, right? X,
Negative 6 and negative 6.
exactly, right.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
multiply that.
Negative 6x plus negative 6x equals negative 12x.
Not
Sorry.
32.
Oh, right, sorry.
Whoops.
I was taking,
My bad.
thanks, you just made me look bad, buddy. All right, no, that's okay. I just, whatever. Okay, so, oh, that's interesting. So what would it be?
4 and
8
4.
and 4.
8 and 4, right? 8 plus 4 is 12. Negative 8 plus negative 4 is, so negative 8, negative 4, right? So negative 8, negative 4, there we go, and equals 0. So therefore my answer is x is equal to positive 8 or positive 4, right? So you got this, right? The only difference between this one and last night's homework is that you will have a lot of things that you have to factor out first, or actually not factor, divide out. Does that make sense? You're dividing by the greatest common factor because it equals 0, and you get rid of that greatest common factor. It disappears. Disappears. And that's awesome. It's awesome. It makes the word problem so much easier. Okay, you understand? Okay. Now, could you have done this without factoring out the 2? Yes, you could have. You could have used Gary's terrific trick and it would have worked. But what would have happened is the thing in the parentheses wouldn't be fully factored. It might be like 4x plus 2, and I could have factored out a 2. You see what I'm saying? Out of one of those. The goal is to always factor them fully, right? Okay. Already 9:10. Let me
Carrie,
just see if I could
Carrie, I would
right.
Gary.
So I'm going to just show you one word problem because on the back of this there are 2 word problems, okay? And they use the same thing, right? You just have to know how to, maybe I'll just do, no, I'm going to just do it on my, where's my sheet? Oh, it's right there. Okay, so write this down. Write this down. This is a word problem that you actually use finding the zeros to get the answer, right? So it says a rectangle. So everybody write this down as I'm doing it because we're running out of time. A rectangle's length is 18 meters less than 5 times its width. The area, the area is, whoops, the area is 8 meters squared. Okay, what is the length and width? Okay. All right, I have a rectangle, right? All right, so pay attention, guys. Henry, pay attention so you really see this, because this is going to be tricky. There's 2 of these on the homework, so I just want you to see how it works. It says, a rectangle's length is 18 meters less than 5 times its width. The area is 8 meters. First of all, what is the formula for the area of a rectangle? Yeah, so length times width equals area, right? Right? Here's my length, here's my width. I'm going to make width a W, right? Because everything's based on the width. It says a rectangle's length is 18 meters less than 5 times the width. So how could I write that for the length? The length is 18 meters less than, where do I put the 18 less than?
Over to the
Off to the right, negative 18. Less than 5 times the width. What would I put here?
5.
Yeah. Okay, great. So that's our length and that's our width. And it says, and the area is 8. Therefore, how would I write that as a formula? I mean, as an equation.
Oh, so it'd be 8.
5.
It would be
5
length
W.
times width, so,
5W is 18.
right, and I like to put, it doesn't matter which one you put first, I like to put the smaller one first. So I'm going to put the W first, parenthesis, 5W minus 18 equals 8, right? That makes sense, right? Length times width is equal to the area. All right. Now, you can't solve this the way it is. It has to equal 0 first, right? Right? The trouble is, I can't subtract 8 because this is a, so, well, no, I can't divide it. I want to actually get rid of the parentheses. Distribute it, yes. So then it'll start looking like a quadratic equation, right? 5W squared minus 18W equals, equals 8, right? And then I'm going to subtract 8, right? To make it equal 0. Subtract 8. So 5W squared minus 18W minus 8 equals 0. Okay, now we have what we've been doing, right? And 5 doesn't go into any of these, so I'm going to just say 5 times negative 8 is negative 40, right? I'm just going to do what you guys know how to do. Factors negative 40, that's negative 18. How about negative 20 and plus 2, right? Does that work? And then I factor it. I'm going to just do it really fast because I want to show you one last thing. 5W squared minus 20W plus 2W minus 8 equals 0. And then I'm going to factor these out. 5w, that's w minus 4. I'm just doing this really fast, I'm sorry. W minus 4 equals 0. And then, so my final factoring is this. W minus 4, whoops, yeah. And then 5w plus 2 equals 0. Now look at my two answers. This is important. Hang on one second, guys. Look at my two answers. I'm adding 4. I get w is equal to 4, or I subtract 2 and put a 5 underneath it. W is equal to negative 2/5. Now, which one of those answers is the only possibility for a length of a side? 4, right? You can't have a negative length of a side. There's no such thing, right? Distance is always positive.
So the width.
So you're going to choose the one that's positive. Does that make sense? And then you're going to figure it out. So the width is 4. The width is 4. So that's 4. And this is 5 times 4, 20 minus 18, so that's 2. Right? Does that make sense? You get the idea. Okay. So it's the same. It's basically what we've been working on. So, okay, let me pass these out. And we are ready for it. Sorry, guys. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah.
Boom.
Oh, this is like super homework. Weird.
It was like on my calendar.
What time do you go? Like a shop pull up upstairs.